Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'd like, thank you all for tuning in to the show. I got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 57th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing we're about to get into is some combat sports, particularly UFC. I know my man's Darnell happy about this one. GSP, he just had a contract deals with him signing back with the UFC. How you feel about this, man?
Yes, I'm excited because he's, for my money, right now, he's the greatest fighter of all time. Only argument I think could be made with Jones off pure dominance, but Jones screw-ups drop him down that list. So I'm excited, but I'm still uneasy just because, his last fight coming out, he did not look like the GSP that we all know. In his last fight against Johnny Hendricks, he won the fight, but in a lot of people's mind, he didn't win the fight. So I'm excited to see just what matchup they have for him and see if he was telling the truth where he said it was mostly mental stuff and personal stuff that was going on that had him off his game and not a decline in talent.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you this. Do you think in any way, shape, or form, because usually guys take a little break fighting like he has, they could be rusty in the ring and whatnot, but do you see any way this could actually be helpful for him with him taking that time off? Like you said, like a mental thing. You think this could actually be real beneficial for him?
I mean, if it was like personal things that had him off his game, because something I don't think anybody can deny about GSP is like he was always mentally prepared for pretty much any fight he went into and had a game plan that was rock solid for what he needed to do to win fights. But in that Hendricks fight, I mean, he couldn't get a takedown. He was taking a lot of shots, which is unusual for him. And like I said, just unusual for him to take that much damage in a fight. So I tend to think there must have been some other stuff going on for him to seem that sloppy in the ring. Because, I mean, this was one of the most technical fighters you could ever see. And looked like he lost all of his defense as far as on the feet. So, I mean, it could be beneficial to him. And apparently he's never stopped training, but, training is different than being in a live fight. So we'll see how ring rust affects him.
Yep. Now, is there a particular person you have in mind that you would like to see him come back into the ring and fight for his first fight in a while, or just anybody?
I mean, he left without the belt. So, I mean, if they wanted to give him the winner of Woodley Thompson 2, I would be fine with that. And I guess one of the rumored bouts is against Michael Bisping, him going up in weight for that fight. That's a possibility. I guess because, I mean, in the past, GSP has said he could fight anywhere between 155 and 185. So the champion of any of those divisions, I think, would be reasonable for him. So if that's the way it goes, I'm cool with it. But I would think it would be smart for him to take a tune-up fight too. Just give him like a top 8, top 10 fighter just to kind of see if he's mentally there and if he wants to do this. But it's usually not how it goes, especially when it's a fighter that can make that much money. If you put him against another high caliber fighter, they're probably going to go with that matchup and make that money.
Yeah. Another one, how would you feel about this one? We're going to get into this in a little bit, but McGregor, you're having the talks with Mayweather, but McGregor and GSP, like two of the top grossing fighters in the UFC. How would you feel if somehow Dana got together, they had a fight together?
I mean, I think it's possible. Like I said, GSP has said at a time he can go anywhere between 155 and 185, and McGregor currently has a 155 belt. So, I mean, that's one of the options on the table for him. And if it's a chance for GSP to get a belt and be two division champion, to kind of help further cement his status as in the all-time UFC greats. I think that would be a doable fight, and I mean, of the champions that we have right now, that's probably his second most favorable matchup. I think the toughest matchup for him would be either Woodley or Wonder Boy, just because how good at wrestling Woodley is and how strong he is, and how awkward Thompson is.
Yeah.
So, but Bisping, a lot of people think he's not a champion that is like that strikes fear into the minds of his opponents. I would say, and McGregor's a smaller fighter and not known for his defensive wrestling. So I think both of those lean more to GSP's strengths. So I think he would jump at a chance to fight either of them because he matches up well with them.
Yeah, man. Like I was telling you before, I'm not the hugest GSP fan, but he did leave the UFC as a champ. He's been putting in mad work. If somebody says that they feel as if he's the greatest of all time in the UFC, I can't really argue with that. The dude's put in work. But it's just going to be interesting to see when he comes back, man, because, like you were saying about him versus Big Rig, he looked kind of sloppy and stuff. He did say it was mental, but, when you're going up in there, you still may be training, but when you're actually not just fighting a opponent in that UFC ring, just have to see how it go, man. It's different than sparring and, just training, hitting a punching bag or anything like that. So just have to see, man. It's going to be a hot-selling fight whenever he decides to return. Do you know if there was any talks with Dana saying when he could possibly get him in for a match, or just the contract?
I haven't seen a solid date yet for his first fight, but so I think they just want to get that word out that he's back first and start looking at what matchups are going to be there for him. So he's been talking through social media with Bisping for the last 6 months trying to set up a fight.
Okay.
Woodley wanted him to come out. He wanted to be his first shot after he won the title. So I think they're not going to have trouble finding a fight for him outside of just all the suitors that want that first fight with GSP.
Yeah. All right, man. Any other thoughts on your boy?
Like I said, I'm cautiously excited. I hope he doesn't come back and look terrible. I want the GSP I remember coming in.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, man. Up next, man, we're just about to continue on a little conversation we had last week with McGregor versus Mayweather. Just was kind of thinking about this after we had the show. Do you guys particularly feel that this fight could kind of hurt Mayweather's career in a way? Because I was just kind of thinking about this, he calls himself the greatest and whatnot, and, I don't have a problem with that. A lot of boxers do feel that way. He's definitely one of the best to do it. But, you look at, say, Muhammad Ali, the guys fought George Foreman, Larry Holmes, he's fought Joe Frazier, Sonny Liston, just fought talent after talent. And, and here's Mayweather, a guy, he has fought some talented fighters, don't get me wrong, but one thing that people will say about him is, he picks, he knows when to pick it. If a guy's not ready in their prime yet, he'll fight them, or if they're past their prime, he'll fight them, like how many people feel about Pacquiao and whatnot. And then, here's rumors going with a guy that's never really had an organized fight in a boxing ring before. So do you guys feel as if this is that this fight happens, do you feel as if this will hurt Mayweather's career in a way?
Only if he lost.
Yeah.
I think people see this for what it is already. It's McGregor. I honestly agree with him when he said the most profitable fight out there for him right now would be McGregor.
Yeah.
Is somebody that he wouldn't have to do all the work to sell the fight. Because most of the other great lighter weight fighters, it seems right now, English is not their first language, or they're not just marketing machines like a McGregor or like Floyd, just because people are dying to see him lose. So yeah, probably the most money that could be on the table for Floyd is with Conor. So it's not a shock that would be the one fight he might come out of retirement for, because he probably sees it as easy money and a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I think most people understand that. He's past his prime as well. Like he's not taking this fight against a UFC fighter at the top of his game. So, and he's not in a situation where he's like he needs money, or he's broke, so he's just trying to do something to make a quick dollar.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's really quote tarnishing his legacy or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree on just about everything you said there. I think the key thing you said was people already see the fight for what it is. I don't think anybody's going to expect this to be one of the best boxing matches, ever. It'll be one of the most talked about ones ever if it goes through, but it wouldn't be, one of those instant classic fights, in my mind at least. If it turned into that, that would be pretty incredible. But, and you mentioned it too, Trey, talking about how Mayweather has seemed to pick the fights at the right time for him. So people kind of already throw that on Mayweather. He took the Pacquiao fight when Pacquiao's coming off a shoulder injury. It's like people were calling him out on that constantly the whole time. So people already have bones to pick with him. And the biggest thing that Floyd Mayweather always talks about is his undefeated record. So as long as he can just have another fight where he stays undefeated, to him, it still makes him the best. He hasn't lost. So if Mayweather loses, then you're going to be talking about a tarnished legacy. Because at that point, one, he will have lost to a guy who doesn't box. And, all the hype being the hype man that he is. And he goes out and then loses to a guy that's maybe stepped in a boxing ring about 7 or 8 times. Like, just, this would be, in my mind, at least one of those ones where you have nothing to gain but everything to lose.
And if you think McGregor is annoying now, if he were to win that fight, oh my God.
But the thing is if even if Mayweather wins it, he becomes even that more annoying. Like, it'll go both ways on that one.
Now, what do you guys think about just the state of boxing with this potential matchup? Just boxing. You look at the '90s, it had Tyson, Evander, Roy Jones. Floyd was starting his career up in the '90s. It had just you could always look forward to see some good fights throughout the year. Just in the '90s. Now it's just like we did have that Pacquiao Mayweather fight, but it's just like boxing just at this dead state. And how does it? What does it say about this? To have your top fight be against a legend like Mayweather against a guy that doesn't have that much experience in the boxing ring.
I mean, it's just we're in a state where boxing is just not what it used to be. We don't have any global icons like there's been in the past, like from Ali to Tyson and Holyfield, like you said, and basically after that you start decline because we haven't had just a great dominant marketable heavyweight champion in I don't know how long. The lighter weights have had to carry things. Like you do still have some really good boxers. You got Triple G, you got Bronner, there are still some good younger fighters that are in their prime still, but it's just people don't know who these guys are because, the stage of boxing is going down, especially since there's just not enough marquee names to build each other up. Probably started getting watered down because they started making so many weight classes, 5 belts per weight class, basically. You got the WBC, WBA, WBO, whatever you want.
Yeah, IBF,
so it was a victim of its own success. They watered it down and started creating so many titles. You don't know who the real champion is. You can look at pound for pound rankings, but if you don't know what weight classes all these guys are and if they're not actually fighting each other, competition breeds excitement, and there hasn't been enough competition for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
I think another thing that goes against boxing right now is we see a couple other sports at all-time highs. The NFL's at an all-time high, even though we saw a little bit of a dip in the rankings or the ratings. And you could attribute that to it being a presidential year. You could attribute it to it whatever you want, but football is at a global high. Basketball is pretty much at a global high right now as well. Granted, it was still pretty big in the 90s with Jordan.
Yeah, like
and
going
then the early
overseas
2000s.
And stuff now to play and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, since boxing has started to die down, I mean, we've seen Yao Ming come over, get into the NBA, and then it started going crazy in China. So, I mean, it kind of like Darnell said, there's no global icon. There's nobody you feel like you have to turn or you have to buy a pay-per-view fight to watch. Pretty much if you're into the boxing scene, you have a favorite fighter or two and you watch them and that's kind of it. I think another thing that hurts is they don't get the mainstream media. It just doesn't pick up on it right now unless it's Floyd Mayweather. So there's just also really no awareness from just regular sports fans who just like to gather up all the knowledge. It's just not there. You have to go looking for it. Just like the NBA will jump in front of your face. The NFL will jump right in front of your face. Boxing, I don't even know that I can name 3 boxers right now, to be quite honest. It's just not there right now, and I don't know what it would take. But I don't know. Maybe Darnell said like getting rid of some of these different belts and kind of condense the classes and let them start to actually fight it out for fewer belts. I mean, I think that would help.
Yeah.
Because like you said, fewer belts would bring more competition. More people would want to fight each other to get in line for the belt.
Yeah. Oh, and it would not allow for basically what Floyd's career has kind of been, where he gets to pick and choose when and where and who he's fighting. And I mean, it was smart on his behalf. He basically accumulated an undefeated record, and he can say he fought some names, but just about everyone he fought them when they were about a year or two past their prime.
Yeah. I mean, you could even argue that he got into boxing past its prime when he started getting big. I mean, you can make that argument too. So you could say his whole career's been full of past their primes.
All right, guys. Up next, we're about to get into still about to stick with some boxing, but we're about to get into some potential matchups that we would have liked to see in boxing. Just whether if guys were in the same weight class, but they just couldn't reach a contract agreement. Just age, just guys just fighting in 2 different eras and whatnot. But just about to get into some of our just fantasy fights we would have loved to see happen. I'm about to lead it off. I picked 3. I had actually a lot of them but just with some guys that just some of the guys that I've already have mentioned in my top 3. It'll just be them just fighting just different opponents that I already have listed and everything like that. So I just kind of stuck it down to 3 fights. So for number 3, it would have to be a welterweight or a middleweight fight between Sugar Ray Leonard and Walker Smith Jr., or a lot of people just know him as Sugar Ray Robinson. Just to give a little tale of the tape between these two, Sugar Ray Robinson, he has 173 wins, 108 knockouts, 19 losses, 6 draws, and 2 no contests. Some of his notable wins is against Jimmy Doyle, Jake LaMotta, and Bobo Olsen. He was named Fighter of the Century by the AP, and he is 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Sugar Ray Leonard, he had 36 wins, 25 KOs, 3 losses, and 1 draw. Some of his notable wins was against Roberto Duran. He actually made him quit in a fight. Very impressive.
No mas.
Yes. And also he has wins against Tommy the Hitman Hearns and Marvin Hagler. He was also named the 1976 Olympic gold medal champion in boxing, and he is 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. Just would have liked to see them. A lot of people, Sugar Ray Robinson, he fought in 200 fights, but I think they only have 13 13 just footage of him actually in his fights. So there's a lot of things that people did not get the chance to see with his just talent and ability. But a lot of people actually saw Sugar Ray Leonard get in the ring, and was very talented, very flashy, has some just quick, could move and just do everything, great footwork and everything. So just to see those two get it in the boxing ring, that would have just been fun to watch. For number 2, me and Darnell, we actually had the same 2 people. This would have to be a middleweight fight, and this would be between Roy Jones Jr. versus Floyd Mayweather. About to just give a little details about the guy, and then I'll let Darnell get in just to give his thoughts about it. But Roy Jones, he's still currently fighting. He fought.
Good God, please stop.
Yeah, he currently fought earlier this month, but he has 65 total wins, 47 knockouts, 9 losses. Some of his notable wins are against Antonio Tarver, Bernard Hopkins, and John Ruiz. He was named BWAA's Fighter of the Decade in the 1990s, and he's 5'11" with a 74-inch reach. Floyd Mayweather, a lot of people know who he is, but he's 49-0, 26 KOs. Notable wins include Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, and Oscar De La Hoya. He's the highest grossing boxer in the history of the sport, and he's 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. Both of these guys had some controversial Olympic losses. I believe Floyd lost in the 96 Olympics and Roy in 88 Olympics with very controversial decisions that I believe helped fuel their career. So, Roy Jones versus Floyd Mayweather, man, middleweight. How do you feel about this one, Darnell?
I mean, it would be a fun fight because I feel like at their peaks, they're probably 2 of the quickest fighters you could ever see. Both very good defensively.
Yeah.
But I would probably still have to give an edge to Roy if they were to have fought in their primes, just because I don't think Floyd ever fought somebody with the speed and power of Roy.
Yeah, I believe Foreman said it best. Yeah, Roy, he moved like a lightweight to hit like a heavyweight. So that
why he was
defense
able to
and
move
power,
up to
man.
heavyweight.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, just Roy is an old country boy that he found what he was good at when he was at his peak. He was just a wrecking crew of one person.
Yeah.
If you want to YouTube him, if there's some listeners that are younger that haven't seen this guy, just see what he would do in fights. I mean, he had some of the flashiness of like an Ali in the ring, footwork, putting his hands down to draw people in, and just his hand speed was out of this world. So if those 2 were to fight, just because Floyd's not known for punching power, he does have some KOs, but they're all late in the fights when people were getting worn down. Roy had one hitter quitter power, where if he catches you on the button, not even totally on the button, he could put you down. And I would like to see him try to solve that defensive Rubik's Cube that is Floyd.
Yeah, man, that Philly shoulder roll of Floyd's, man. I would just love to see, Roy Jones just using that footwork and that power, just hitting him, man, just to see how he responds just to all that power Roy Jones has, man. That was just been a fun fight to see, man. A guy that could just continue to just hit you over and over again and just see how Mayweather just responds to that, just see if he could take it, through 12 rounds, man. So that would have just been a fun fight. I would have to go with Roy Jones on that one as well, man. Just, in the 90s, that dude was just a beast. He was just fast, just could just do anything in the ring, man. Just I would probably say the most athletically just gifted boxer I've ever seen in the ring, man. Just to make you miss, just embarrass you in the ring, man. Just make you just like you don't even have any boxing experience at all, man. He was just that amazing. So I would go with Roy in that one. You think it would last the whole fight, or you think he would actually knock him out, or what?
I would probably lean towards a late knockout just because, Floyd is good defensively. They both had gas tanks. It's just, I don't think he would be able to avoid punches that long of a fight.
Yeah.
So at some point, I think Roy would start to get in and corner him and start laying in just because he was a faster fighter than Floyd.
Yeah. All right, and for my final one, the one that I have in here would be the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis versus the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali. Just some little tail of tape between those two. Joe Louis, he has 66 wins, 52 KOs, only 3 losses. Some of his notable wins against James Braddock, Max Schmeling, and Billy Conn. He was voted number 1 in Rings Magazine's greatest punchers list. He was 6'2" with a 76-inch reach. And Muhammad Ali, 56 wins, 37 KOs, and 5 losses. Some of his notable wins include Sonny Liston, George Foreman, and Smoking Joe Frazier. He was named Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Century, and he was 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. So just to watch those guys, man, just their different styles. Muhammad Ali, how he just danced in the ring and pop you with those jabs. Just to see how Joe Louis could get in the ring and possibly take those jabs. And, he had a pretty good reach, too. So see how he just uses – both of these guys can use their reach to just get in contact with each other and to see how Joe Louis, his power and whatnot, see if he could take Muhammad Ali down and whatnot. So that would have been my list, man. I think these would have been some fun fights to just see those guys get in there. Ty, what about you, man? You have any?
Yeah, we've been, talking about Mayweather and mentioned the Pacquiao fight. I think everybody who saw that fight would agree it was a major disappointment of a fight. It was pretty dull. But, if that fight were to happen about 5 years prior, I think that could have been one of the best fights ever, personally. Darnell mentioned Floyd Mayweather's ability to protect himself very well. He was really good defensively. So was Pacquiao. I wouldn't expect this to be a knockout or a fight like that. I think it would go down to the end and probably end up being a split decision winner. It would be a fight you'd definitely have to have the stamina for. Because, both guys will engage, throw their jabs, but both would just protect themselves very well in the ring. So if that fight would have happened sooner, I think that it would have benefited everybody a little bit more. So that'd probably be mine.
Yeah,
because and plus the hype still would have been there too.
Exactly.
So it would have been there.
Yeah, I saw that fight for free, man, and I still felt like I got ripped off. That was horrible. So it was bad, man. But just to end the discussion on boxing, I think, in my opinion, I think this would have been the highest grossing fight of all time. But Mike Tyson versus Muhammad Ali, this matchup, man, many people have always had this argument, but who would you guys have had in this fight?
Ali, easy.
Ali, easy?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. What about
I would go Ali as well. I don't know about easy, but I think Ali would have taken it. I think he was just better with his feet, just the ability to move in the ring. I think would have basically helped him avoid all the big punches Tyson would have tried to throw at him.
Yeah. I just feel like Tyson always had trouble with pure boxers. Yeah. Especially if they weren't afraid of him, and Ali feared nothing. So, I mean, you look at the most notable losses for Tyson, with his 2 to Holyfield and his loss to Buster Douglas. These were fighters that had good boxing ability, weren't afraid. They protected themselves from his hits, and Mike he had a tendency to gas after a fight went past 3 rounds. And Ali, as long as he stayed out of range for 3 rounds, just how Tyson fought, he was going to punch himself out. And I would say probably against Ali, it would have ended, just his boxing ability alone, it would have ended in about a 5th or 6th round knockout.
Oh. Yeah, but I think the real question would be, would Ali exit the ring with both of his ears intact? I think that's the real question we got going here.
Well, it took 2 fights for Evander to lose his, so
that's fair.
No rematch clause after I beat you.
I would say this, if it was best of 7 or whatever, I would have Muhammad Ali winning. Just to give you guys some thought on this, if you were to look at some of the guys that they both faced in their career, it'd be Trevor Berbick and Larry Holmes. Mike Tyson did destroy those guys in the ring. However,
they were both 40 plus years old.
I was just about to say, Ali, he lost to those guys, but however, Ali was past his prime. So, just if you were to just look at that, but I would say this, I believe that Mike Tyson would have won if he was say around right when he won was the undisputed champion. I think like right around the edge when, Cus D'Amato was still his trainer. I think Cus would have trained him, in a way to win. I think Cus D'Amato, he's the greatest trainer of all time. And I think he just would have had him prepared, to fight Ali. Just kind of my thoughts on that. But I think if you were to look at some of the stuff too with Mike Tyson, with the whole rape trial, the whole Robin Givens situation and everything too, I think Cus D'Amato would have got on his tail about that and made him stay focused and whatnot. So if Mike Tyson was to win, I think it would have to be a young Mike Tyson when he just got ready to capture those belts. But other than that, if it was right after Cus D'Amato died, I think Ali would have gave him the business. So especially with all that trash talk and stuff too, I think that could have helped get into Tyson's head as well. But best of 7, I would give it to Ali, but I don't think Tyson would have got, just destroyed completely by Ali. Especially kind of like I'm kind of looking at it as well is that one of Ali's greatest opponents was Joe Frazier. I'm kind of looking at it as, Mike Tyson, he was the guy that hit harder than Joe and was faster than Joe. So if he could somehow bob and weave under those jabs that Ali was throwing and could land that hook, it could be over. But like I said,
was he as mentally strong as Joe Frazier? Though?
True. Like I said, with the whole trash talk and everything, I think, Cus D'Amato, he would have had to been a trainer to make sure that he stayed focused and everything like that. But
you can't train not letting stuff get to you. I don't care who you are. You can't train that. If you are thin skinned and don't deal well with somebody talking and playing mind games with you, that's just that. And Mike Tyson got set off by people not really even talking much trash to him. I mean, he threatened to eat Lennox Lewis's kids over what?
True, man. So just have to see, man. I would have loved to see that fight, but you guys brought up some interesting points. Anything else to add? Whether UFC or boxing before we get ready to move on.
Nah.
Good discussion. Up next, we're about to get into the NBA. Just what were you guys' thoughts on this awesome NBA All-Star weekend that we just had?
I was at least okay with everything but the dunk contest.
After the 2016 dunk contest, this was the movie that did not deserve a sequel, and it tanked at the box office. So Honestly, though, the dunk contest is something needs to happen to it. Like, granted, what did they do that one year that like wasn't John Wall in it one year, and they had some really weird format, and it sucked even worse than it normally did.
Yeah, that when they gave you like a time limit to do like 3 dunks or something.
Yeah. Something weird happened, and they just went back to the old way of doing it. But they need to do something to bring some energy to it. I mean, you have a 7-foot guy jumping over a 3-foot table. You got guys in essence performing the same dunk, jumping over 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, the guy,
Derek Jones Jr. and Glenn Robinson basically did the same dunk, attempted the same dunk.
Well, and Glenn Robinson's first dunk and last dunk were pretty much the exact same dunk.
Just prior more people.
I mean, granted, at the end, all Glenn Robinson had to do was just complete a dunk. Like, he could have just walked up and just did a little 2-hand slam and still would have won. But honestly, the dunk contest is what everybody talks about. It's what everybody remembers. They need to do something because All-Star Weekend is basically judged on the dunk contest.
Yeah, that dunk contest was pretty bad, but just Aaron Gordon, man, because coming into the dunk contest, he did have an injury with his foot. I don't know how much that affected him at all, but he definitely didn't look like he had the same bounce and whatnot as he had last year. I don't know if he should have just sat this one out if he wasn't feeling 100% healthy or what, but yeah, it was disappointing. It looked like he had some good ideas, man, but just, I don't know if it was his foot or what, but he just couldn't pull through on some of those stunts that he attempted. So,
I will add to it though, if there is a bright spot to take away from the dunk contest, I think it was Derek Jones Jr. I mean, I had seen some tape of him doing some dunking and stuff in pregame warm-ups, and it looked like he could get up, but he was really getting up during the dunk contest. He didn't complete the last dunk, or he would have won, in my opinion. But I think if they get him back in it next year, he'll be better prepared, and I think he could wow some people.
Yeah, it seemed like in the end the lights got to him a little bit.
Yeah.
Being in front of a crowd that well, but yeah, you could definitely see he has some springs. But next year he needs to bring some bigger shorts with him.
Yeah, going old school, man.
Yeah, I thought I was watching a '88 dunk contest.
Those thigh highs.
Yeah. Now, you guys were up the dunk contest, but how did you feel about the All-Star game? Because, it's, at least it used to be, you would see at least some type of defense in it, but now it seems like they're just going out there just doing whatever, it doesn't even seem like it's just competitive at all. Props to, AD for getting that record, but it's like, nobody was.
2 guys got the record.
Well, yeah.
Two guys got the record, but one walks away with it. But, I think there's a record 75 dunks or something like that. I saw that as a stat. It's like, it literally was dunk, full court pass, dunk, full court pass, dunk, 3, full court pass, dunk. Like, that was the sequence of the All-Star game. But, if AD winning MVP, getting the scoring record, what do you have, 52?
Yeah,
52 points, I think. Yeah. That's a bright spot. You're kind of like, all right, cool, good for him. He did it in front of his home crowd, and whatnot. But in the end, it's the All-Star game. You have to know that they're playing to not get hurt. And at the end of the day, I don't think you can really get too mad at them for not wanting to get hurt in the All-Star game, which is mid-season. I mean, would it potentially be a better game if they moved it to the end of the season, kind of like they do with the Pro Bowl, but the Pro Bowl's a joke? So I'm not trying to compare the two, but would it almost be a better game in general if they would just move it to the end of the year and just give them a week break off in the middle of the season? Like that was my thought. That was my thought following the All-Star game, is what if they moved it? Would we then see a better basketball game?
Yeah, how do you feel about that one, Darnell? You there, man?
Yeah, I don't know. So here, I'll pick it up and give some more reasoning there. Basically, like I said, these guys are playing to try and not get hurt, right? So, and you can't blame them. I mean, they're on contracts. There's, teams fighting for playoff spots and all this. If they moved it to the end of the season, you could actually see some sort of an effort being made. Like I heard one analyst talk about the All-Star game, and he was saying, he really would want to see what, Isaiah Thomas would try and do guarding Russell Westbrook in an actual, game, or, if you found a way to mix it up and,
They really said Isaiah Thomas, though?
I no.
Because he doesn't guard anybody anyway.
No, they didn't actually say him. It was just whoever came to the top of my head. But it was basically the idea of they would want to see how these guys would, actually pair up. Like say you had, how they kind of did the Pro Bowl for the few years where you just kind of pick players and conference doesn't matter. Like, could you imagine watching, like, I don't know, say Jabari Parker was healthy, Jabari Parker try and guard Antetokounmpo? Like, stuff like that is what people would like to see. People on the same team go against each other, and you never see that. I just think being able to move the All-Star game to a later date could potentially actually give us a decent game to keep an eye on.
Yeah, how do you feel about them moving into a later date, Darnell?
I mean, I guess I wouldn't hate it. I'm indifferent to it anyway, either way, just because I feel like an exhibition game, you can't really ever expect them to play their hardest for it. Baseball tried to do it.
Because, you've seen a lot more All-Star games than us. Like back in the, early 90s and whatnot. So, man, I was a competition back then, with Jordan and all those guys figuring it out.
It was still similar. They would take the first few quarters just to kind of show off, give the fans a show, see some dunks in mid-game, lighter defense, just because, I mean, still, I just think the players know this game doesn't count. So, of course, if it's mid-season, it's like I'm not tearing an ACL or breaking a bone, especially if I'm on a team that has a chance to go far. But this game just kind of took it to another level because, even in the fourth quarter, there was no defense.
Yeah, Steph Curry laying down, letting
I'm not getting posterized, so I'm hitting that.
I bet that still gets made into a poster.
But I mean, usually some of the competitive juices would start to go coming towards the end of the third quarter and fourth, just because you want the pride of your conference winning the game. But I mean, I think we're just moving into a different time. Like in the 80s and 90s, you didn't see coaches sitting their players to make sure they were rested enough come the playoffs. I mean, it's not as fun for the fans, but I mean, just players in this day and age are more aware of their bodies and how much they're worth. I guess I could say so. Just this is the way the game is moving.
Yeah,
so.
And I would even say this: I'd rather see it where it is now, with almost no defense, but still having all the stars there, than seeing all these guys turn down the offer to go there because they don't want to get hurt. I mean,
which we get a lot in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. Well, mainly because it's the week before the Super Bowl or whatever, but.
But I mean, you even have players that aren't even in the playoffs anymore, still just declining.
That's true. That's true.
I understand, but
yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody would want to watch, I don't know, the two worst guys in the NBA make the All-Star game because everybody else declined. I mean, that's. I don't know what kind of ratings the All-Star game gets, but you don't want it to be 0. That's all I know.
As far as they're one of the better rated All-Star games, just because it's a faster paced sport.
Yeah,
like probably them in baseball are the ones that would most closely resemble how a real game would go.
Yeah.
I guess just because there's the least injury potential. It's not like hockey where they're not going to be checking people as hard in an all-star game, and in football the Pro Bowl is basically touch football. They don't blitz. They don't really do too much because everybody's it's already a tough enough sport, so they're not trying to get hurt. So people do at least watch that just because it's kind of a spectacle seeing a team almost score 200 points.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Anything else to add for All-Star break?
We need to get some more stars back in the Saturday festivities.
Yeah.
I think.
Would you guys agree that we're kind of past the whole LeBron and the dunk contest thing?
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, people still talk about it, but like at this point, I can care less whether he's in it or not.
No, not him. But I mean, that's at least for that, we need to get at least some mid-level stars. Like everybody needs to be at least at like DeAndre Jordan's notoriety level, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I will say Derrick Jones Jr. How many people do you think said I've never heard of this guy a day in my life?
Oh, probably 90% of the people watching.
And then secondly, there's no excuse why Steph Curry can't do the 3-point contest. No excuse.
But at least that was still full of some.
No, I agree.
Names, though. Yeah, you had Kyrie, you had Clay.
Walker. Yeah. No,
it's just.
I'm not saying I'm disappointed with who was in it. I'm just saying, people who regards the best shooter, some people call the best shooter in NBA history, won't even do the 3-point contest.
He's jacking up those half-court shots, man. So
and went over.
Yeah, I was gonna say didn't make a one of them.
Yeah, it was the clothes, man. The street gear.
He needed somebody guarding him.
Yeah, I saw somebody come out with this like shot chart for Steph Curry from half court during All-Star weekend. It was just 5 X's in the middle of the floor.
All right, guys. Now, what do you think about this DeMarcus Cousins trade? Was it a good trade? Just what are your thoughts on it?
On the surface of it, of course, it's everybody's mouth is watering, just thinking Boogie and AD just terrorizing the offensive paint on people. But I mean, it's still, you got to wonder, how do they make this work? Because Pelicans, they play a little bit more fast paced, and Boogie is your traditional put me on the block and I'll make something work in the paint. He's not a run up and down the court type of player like AD is for his size, but if they can make it work, I mean, this could be scary, especially if they get like just a decent spot up shooter on the outside, just to keep people backing out of the paint some.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't double either of them now. So it could be scary come next season. I think. I don't think it means much for this season, but
yeah, Darnell, I think you'll understand this more than Trey would. But I think one comparison we could bring into it is Purdue when they run Haas and Swanigan at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Swanigan has the ability to hit the 3. Both AD and Cousins can hit the 3 at a decent clip too.
Yeah, and Cousins is underrated. Might be the best passing center in the league.
I agree. So just like Swanigan's a really good passer for his size. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't think it can work, because I didn't think that Golden State would work as well as they did. So I'm not going to say it can't work, because I was proven wrong, 4 months ago. It'll, like you said, it'll just be interesting to see how they decide to utilize both of them, if they, try and put them both down low, if they keep one outside and the other on the block. It'll just be interesting to see how that works out. But for me, how do I evaluate the trade? Honestly, kind of poor. The Hornets, or not the Hornets, the Pelicans, basically stole DeMarcus Cousins away for a first-round draft pick and nobody.
They fleeced him.
D-Block comes out saying, I had a better offer 2 days ago. It's like, why the hell?
If I were a Kings fan, I'd be so mad. I would be unbelievably mad that that's what we got for arguably the best center in the NBA.
Well, I
was telling
Laker
you guys,
Nation
at least
went
would have,
yeah,
true. I at least would have tried to get, Drew Holiday or something out of that. It was probably like their second best player or something. But
I heard that the Pistons offered Andre Drummond, and there may have been other pieces involved. But that seems like it at least would have been a better trade-off than getting Buddy Hield. I mean, look at the shooting guards they've drafted in the last 5 years. I think they've drafted about 5 of them, and only one of them, Ben McLemore, still with the team, and he's not doing anything. So, if anything, this opens up a big door for Buddy Hield. If he can go to Sacramento and pretty much do whatever he wants, good for him. If he can really,
nobody else can do it.
Yeah. I mean, if he can really go there and expand himself and get a good second contract in the NBA and go somewhere else, that would be really good for Buddy Hield.
It should be good for him. He should have the greenest of green lights on that team.
Yeah, Tyreek Evans is probably really mad that he's going back to Sacramento. He's really the maddest guy out of the deal. But then, you have, the whole stigma that comes with DeMarcus Cousins. Is he going to be, a problem on the bench, on the floor, in the locker room? We don't know. Was that just a problem he had with Sacramento? Is it a problem with himself? I guess we're going to find out. And then on top of that, they only have him for a year and a half before they have to figure out whether they can keep him or not.
Yeah.
So,
I think he's losing. If he was to stay in Sacramento, I think he would have had an extra $30 million and max deal. But I think he lost $30 million.
Correct.
Going,
he did. And he even came out and said he's not sour about it. Yeah. Which, good for him to publicly come out and say, "Hey, I'm cool." Basically, he said he's just happy to be out of Sacramento. Yeah. That's what I took out of it. But so overall, I'm not thrilled with the trade. I'm not disappointed in it either. If New Orleans can find a way to hold on to DeMarcus Cousins when the contract runs up, good for them. They could bring somebody else in and really work with it. They could be an interesting team in the Western Conference. I think they currently are an interesting team in the Western Conference, but if they get him for a year and a half and gave away Buddy Hield and then Cousins leaves for another team after this contract's up, it was fun while it lasted.
I think this is one that he probably try to give a shot there. It's not to me, especially with how the league is set up right now, just with teams all about perimeter play right now.
Mm-hmm.
They could be that resurgence of kind of old school basketball dominating the paint.
Yeah.
As long as if they get a, like I said, a decent couple wing shooters and a reasonable point guard, they could just be nasty.
Yeah, if they like Trey said, if they can hold on to Drew Holiday, I think he's all the point guard they need.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just, with that, but I think, potentially, I think they have the potential to be the best front court of all time, just especially in this day and age of small basketball. But like I said, man, it's going to have to take them some time to mellow things out, work on the spacing and everything. But these two, they have the potential to do some mad damage on that court. So just have to see how that all plays out. Now, are there any other trade talks that you guys been hearing about that you find interesting, or something you would like to see happen before tomorrow at 3, or what?
Well, apparently the Clips and Celtics are talking about Blake Griffin.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think that one might be interesting, especially if the Celtics don't have to mortgage too much of their young and talented team.
Mm-hmm.
Think people would like to see Blake catching the hoops from a new point guard and Isaiah Thomas. I think that could be an interesting look. I'm not sure if it would give him enough to jump Cleveland, but interesting nonetheless.
What about, because I was hearing Jimmy Butler possibly going to the Celtics as well.
I'm hearing Jimmy Butler is being looked at by the Lakers. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, well, I mean, Butler is he's the biggest thing getting thrown around, but apparently the Bulls want too much is what I'm hearing. So I wouldn't expect him actually to be moved just because the asking price is too high for him. Just because I guess it seems like Jimmy Butler is just in that weird place where the numbers he's putting up shows he's like a team changing type player, but I don't know, just teams don't accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, just people feel like the bottom is gonna fall out on him or something, and he's not like that anymore. So who knows?
Yeah. One trade that actually has gone through that I find very interesting is Lou Williams to the Rockets.
Oh, yeah.
The reason I find that one so interesting is because they've already got that 6-man and Eric Gordon coming off the bench.
Yeah,
so you're signing the same exact player at the same exact position to do the same exact thing. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to try and run them both at the same time, or
I have to think that they're moving one of the like Beverly or Gordon. They have to be looking at another trade. They have to be,
or maybe somehow move Gordon to the 3, perhaps, or something.
Well, what they could do is send Beverly to the bench because he's starting right now alongside Harden. Just let Harden be the 1, no problem, and move either Williams or Gordon into that Beverly spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it could work. I just found it really interesting because, like I said, they're literally the same player.
Yeah.
Just come off the bench and light it up.
Exactly. All right, now we're about to talk about my Lakers for a little bit. They basically got Magic Johnson running the show, Showtime. So what do you guys think about this move for the Lakers? How do you think Magic Johnson will do in this position? I know some people, they question, players just getting a position like that, just due to previous experience of teams not doing well and so forth. But what do you guys think about this?
I'm skeptical. I mean, I love Magic. That's my alma mater's all-time great athlete right there. But he's never been in a role like this. I know he's been an advisor for the Lakers for the past season. But it's another thing to be the president of basketball operations. So I think it comes down to the people he puts around him. What kind of advisors will he have, making sure the moves that they make are what's necessary. I mean, we've already seen the first come out of it with this Lou Williams move. I don't think it's a bad move for the Lakers. But we're gonna have to wait probably a full year or so to see how this is working out. See what he does in his first full off season, up until probably next year's trade deadline, to see if the Lakers are trending upwards or if it's more of what we've just been getting with Kupchak and Bus.
Yeah, just for me, I actually like Kupchak. He was doing some great things. When LA was winning those championships. Pretty skeptical with Magic as well. Hope he does well. Don't get me wrong, but just have to see. This is a position that he's new to. So hopefully, there was he was saying he would like to bring my dog Kobe in there to help So another player.
I don't think that's a good idea.
We'll see, man. But
I think that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, man, just have to see, it's magic being magic, I guess. Want somebody, with winning experience to help the team out. But I'm not really a guy, to like to hear people lose their job and whatnot, but I'm just happy Jim Bust's ass is gone. So this was long overdue. I know Jeannie, she was talking about she was apologizing for probably waiting too long to fire her bro, but get his ass out.
Way too long.
Yeah, get his ass out. So I'm happy with that one. Wish him the best and everything like that. But yeah, his ass is gone. I'm happy. Yeah, leave.
You sure you're happy about that?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Do you want to say it one? Do you want to say that one more time?
Get his ass out of there. Yeah.
I'm actually gonna be on Darnell's side of the fence here. You have to be skeptical. Magic Johnson got the position because he's Magic Johnson, not because he has a proven track record at the position. So, I mean, he knows basketball. I'm not doubting that. He knows, I'm sure he knows player development and things like that. But it just comes down to, is it going to turn into we're going to let him do what he wants because he's Magic Johnson, or we're actually going to hold him to the standard of running a basketball team? And like Darnell said, it's going to be a progress. The Lakers are a progress right now. They're on that trail coming back. They have some players that they can really build with. It's just going to come down to front office decisions, and is this going to be a good one for the Lakers, or is it going to turn into a Phil Jackson situation? I mean, that would be worst case scenario here. They turn into the Knicks.
I mean, at least Jeannie Buss saw that she got to look at New York and know Phil wouldn't work in a front office position. So
at least you had that going for you, Trey.
Yeah. All right, guys. Last but not least, for Adam Silver, there was word going around that he was looking at just the overall draft age for people to enter into the NBA. What are your thoughts on that? You think players should have more time to develop in college basketball besides 1 year, or what?
I mean, it's good. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, there are some players that, probably are good enough to come straight out of high school still. So that 1 year isn't necessary. I understand it. I understand they want, a player to still develop just a little bit, get used to playing against some bigger bodies. Then there's also just a maturity that comes with 1 year out of high school. A lot of those kids will go away to college, be away from home for the first time. It's just a big learning year for anybody in life. So, I understand the 1 year out of high school before you can enter the NBA draft. I completely get it. If they make it longer, I think we will see more players go overseas. And it would be tough to come back. I mean, Brandon Jennings did it, but not many other players have gone overseas and made it back. Right now, Jimmer Fredette's averaging 37.7 points a game in Shanghai. And I have no clue if any teams are even interested in bringing him back.
Yeah.
So it's a tough road. The longer you keep them away from the pros, the more likely I think these kids will be to look for other options. So honestly, if they made it a couple more years, I think that would not be a good move for the NBA. But if they were to just say, hey, if, you're good enough coming out of high school and they eliminated the 1 year rule, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind the high school and whatnot. Like, just looking at it, some of the greatest players ever in the history of the NBA, didn't even play college. Like Kobe, LeBron, Moses Malone, KG. Some of those guys don't have any college experience whatsoever. So just me, just seeing that, and, I'm always for, people going out there, doing right, getting money, providing for their families and whatnot. So me, I'm not really against it. I can see, maybe from the NBA's perspective how it could be beneficial, but just overall, I see, you're an adult when you get 18 and whatnot. So just go out there, man. If you got the skills to go out there and make money, provide for your family and whatnot, just go for it. So.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm totally against the whole making players wait a year to get into the NBA. I don't like it for football either. Like, I understand why for all of them. I mean, like, I guess it might sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but, like, do I personally think a year or two in playing college ball does better for a kid? Yes. Yes, it does. But if they're ready to, if they can be drafted and start making that money, I don't see why we have to force them to go somewhere else for a whole year for training. I mean, honestly, like especially on the NBA side, if a kid's good enough where a team would be willing to draft them, I say let them draft them. You don't have to play them. Let them play a year or two in the D League. It's basically the same thing, and so they can get paid on the job training. As far as I'm concerned, so I mean, personally for me, I say nix the whole deal. Is it worse for college basketball, which I like watching more? Yes, but I don't think we should be holding these kids back from their earning potential, and honestly, possibly having that one bad year in college and being forced to go, okay, so do I have to play another year in college to try to get my draft stock back up, or did I just lose my shot just because I didn't go out when I was 18?
Yeah, just starting out, you said it's worse for college basketball. You mean them setting the age higher for people who get drafted, or
no, eliminating the.
Okay.
Because if they don't go to college, then there's going to be no presence of the star players.
True. Okay, yeah, just making sure I got that right.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I'm sure you guys have seen highlights of the Zion Williamson high school class of 2018 doing some crazy dunks in game stuff. But this kid's huge, crazy dunks. Look him up. Looks like he's
both of Ball's two younger brothers too.
Yeah, well, the youngest Ball brother isn't playing defense, but that's a different story. But like Zion Williamson looks like a complete two-way player. He gets way above the rim. Like he's the class 2018, but like he looked like someone that could just skip college in general. Like the dude's body is already built for the NBA. So, him not going to college would be like, man, a college really missed out on having that. College basketball missed out on another good player. But like Darnell said, if that kid goes to college 1 year, say he goes to, I don't know, Duke, tears an ACL, who knows what his future is going to be.
Yeah. All right, guys. Do you have any final thoughts to add to the show or anything for, UFC, boxing, NBA, or whatnot?
No, just college basketball starting to wrap up. Trey, for you, start paying attention to things like bubble teams and seedings for conference tournaments, because a lot of times the conference tournament depends who gets in the tournament, the big tournament.
Okay.
So this is a good time to start paying attention to a lot of the bubble teams and really look to see who's getting hot, who's cooling down.
And that plays a
right now is when. Yeah, right now is what you start looking at for your brackets. So,
all right, okay, cool.
Now's good time.
However they do like that. Does this play a key factor in just the overall rankings in the March Madness brackets, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, the number one seeds will probably have some small variation depending who loses. But where it gets real big is when you start talking about like seeds 4 through about that's where you see a lot of fluctuation and a lot of big matchups can change based on a team moving from an 8 seed to a 7 seed. Like that could be a world of a difference for a team in the tournament.
All right, cool, man. I'll keep that in mind. I know, seeing NC and Louisville get it in right now, so I'll be checking that out after.
Duke lost on a buzzer beater tonight, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. That was big for Syracuse. They're on the bubble right now, so that's a huge win for Syracuse.
Yeah. So see how this all plays out, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in to the show. As always, y'all can check us out on Twitter at DKM_cast. You can also find this podcast on places like iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, SoundCloud. Just hit us up in that search engine. As always, appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Y'all take care and have a good one. Peace.